I'm Sarah Diesel. I'm a patient advocate for medical cannabis. I've been in it for about 3.5 years now. Well, I became a patient about 4 years ago, and I didn't really think that this was true, that you could really go into a dispensary. So for about a year, I made my friends go in, and I sat in the car, as crazy as it sounds. And then I went into my first dispensary. 3 days later, I got a job there. 6 months later, I realized it wasn't the right dispensary for me, so I got out. I got hired at another dispensary that has just been a blessing. It has been awesome. I've been with them for about 2.5 years now. I actually help manage it, and I also manage the edibles, which is really important to me because I have a lot of patients who have eating disorders. Yeah, I pretty much just started to realize there was more to it than just bud tending, so I became an advocate as well. As a patient advocate, I think the most important thing is education. I think there's a lot of law enforcement that still, think that marijuana is a bad thing. Regulations finally came out. Jerry Brown from the Justice Department, they have a full regulations, and finally this is rules and regulations set to teach law enforcement what to do when they pull over someone or if they go to their house with a search warrant or whatnot. It also teaches the dispensaries how to run and operate legally by state law, and I think that's probably one of the most important things when it comes to being an advocate, is to educate the patients and get them to feel comfortable, so if they get pulled over or if a cop comes to their home, they're going to know what to say, and then also for them to be walking around with their recommendation and feel safe and feel confident. Well, Amsterdam University has just recently opened the LA facility, and I am the facilitator of it, as well as the professor for politics and legal. It's a 30-minute wrap-up. It goes over arrest, detention, what is it like when you get pulled over by a cop? What do you say? What don't you say? I teach you all of that in a 30-minute wrap-up, and it makes patients just go, wow. They feel so much more confident when they actually get pulled over, and that is an honor to me, to be able to give this information to patients so that they can feel comfortable to go out there and work in this industry and feel safer in this industry. And I think that's probably the most important reason for me and why I do this, is just to spread the knowledge and the word of medical cannabis, that it is growing and it is not going to stop. Hi, I'm Sarah Diesel. I'm a patient advocate of medical cannabis, and I truly believe that with medical cannabis we can make a change. This is a movement that comes from the grassroots. It comes from you. And if you want help on how to become a patient or how to help out our community, go to my website, sarahdiesel.com. Go to my links page. You'll find numerous organizations that you can donate to and volunteer. You can volunteer at your local dispensary. You can write your council member, go speak to City Hall. There's a lot we can do for medical cannabis, and I think that the change is coming very, very soon.
In 1996, California passed Proposition 215, ensuring the right to use marijuana for medical purposes. It has been over 10 years since the people of California changed state law to allow medical use of marijuana. However, federal agents continue to raid medicinal clubs, arguing cannabis is still a controlled substance and California law is in conflict with federal law. Even more interesting is the story of Amsterdam, California, where there's a concentration of cannabis dispensaries. In 2004, the people of Oakland passed Local Measure Z, which allows adult use of marijuana and makes cannabis the lowest priority for law enforcement. Let's examine this issue and look at the thriving subculture of Amsterdam. We traveled to Amsterdam to speak with the owner of a cannabis dispensary. We wanted to find out, what is Amsterdam, and does it have anything to do with Amsterdam?
That's where it comes from. Amsterdam originally we're trying to be like the Dutch capital, that in the Netherlands in general, where they allow coffee shops to sell cannabis to adults. I started the Bulldog Coffee Shop and Coffee Shop SR71, which is 2 coffee shops that sell cannabis. I started the Amsterdam gift shop. It has all the Amsterdam merchandise, so people who want to support the Amsterdam and who are here visiting can get souvenirs of their trip to Amsterdam. And I'm also the publisher of the Amsterdam News.
Richard Lee came in and really put his vision into play. We've been pretty much distributing at every single cannabis club that's out there. if people don't know about it, there's like Amsterdam type newspaper to tell people what's going on as a whole, not just like in Oakland or San Francisco or pick selective places, but cover everything.
We officially put the birth date as July 4th, 1996. From 1996 through 2004, more and more clubs opened in Oakland, and especially right in a cluster around the Uptown Fox Theater entertainment district. 2004 when permits were issued, and that's when they closed down a lot of the clubs. The city council passed an ordinance. Bad part of it was it limited the number of clubs. Good was they were issuing permits for clubs, so that's more protection from the federal government and DEA. Whereas 215 was just for medical patients, Measure Z is more like legalizing it, similar to alcohol. In 2004, 65% of Oakland voted for it. That put the cities on record, the voters on record, as being in favor of taxing and regulating it. And so Measure Z just makes it the lowest priority enforcement, which is basically how the Dutch have done it, how it's been done in Amsterdam for the last 30 years. With SB 420, a bill passed by the legislature to allow now there to be 300 cannabis outlets in California. Just because California legalizes medical marijuana doesn't mean that it's legal federally, but on the other hand, just because it's illegal federally doesn't mean it's illegal in California. The two can exist in opposition or in conflict.
What do? I'm the ambassador of Amsterdam. I interact with people, I do PR, I basically tell people what they need to know. What is this Amsterdam? Yeah, so I am a docent of sorts, showing people around and playing that role of ambassador. I also represent not just Amsterdam and medical marijuana, but I also represent a segment of our population of AIDS survivors. I'm a 12-year AIDS survivor. It qualifies me as a spokesperson, as someone who uses this as a tremendous natural way of managing a chronic illness.
We have tried to revitalize this area. People have, do comment that it has improved since the cannabis clubs have been down here.
And Amsterdam will be the place where it's legal, like in Amsterdam.
Well, hopefully, like we said, be more like Amsterdam, where they have coffee shops that serve tourists and they help to bring in visitors into the city to provide business and taxes for everybody.
Because I see it as the Disneyland of pot.
Amsterdam is an idea we've had for trying